And welcome back. Energy security, reliability and accessibility remains a complex and important conversation on the continent and across the world. While there are many conference forums where players in the energy value chain, the Africa Energy Indaba believes their platform is a critical forum for discussing pressing energy challenges. We now speak to the Managing Director of the Africa Energy Indaba, Liz Hart. Liz, good evening. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. Every other month, there is some sort of a conference on the continent, particularly in South Africa, about energy, around energy, where there is the Green Hydrogen Energy Conference, Africa Energy Week, or Energy in Africa. These conferences often feel very much like a talk shop. Where industry leaders meet, and sometimes I meet with regulators and other players in the field, but nothing substantial happens thereafter. Why should we continue to believe in conference forums as an important discussion platform?
I think they're critical discussion platforms because ultimately people want to get together and unpack some of the key issues that are challenging the African energy sector. So not just, if you look at South Africa as a whole, we certainly have challenges in this country, but across our borders, some of the challenges are even more severe. So these forums really do try and unlock private sector investment into energy projects. So one of our key focus areas is a projects deal room where we do exactly that. We start saying, well, what are some of the projects out there? How do we expedite these projects and make them come to life so that ultimately energy can be filtered down to the people on the ground that really need it? And not only just people, business for economic growth across the continent, absolutely critical. We need energy. So yes, I completely agree. There are a lot of energy conferences out there in the marketplace. We do try and differentiate ourselves using the projects deal room to really try and facilitate and expedite deal flow in the energy sector in Africa.
Yeah, which bankers are rocking up with their deal pitch books in hand, and which financiers are supporting that from an intermediary perspective, and which big projects are you looking to hopefully close deals on this week?
So this week we're looking at the Pyramid project, which is a project in South Africa, here in Tshwane, looking at a solar project that's connected to the Tshwane grid. Some of the big investors that are coming through to the event are the EIB, European Investment Bank, DBSA, the Development Bank of Southern Africa, some of our private banks like ABSA, Standard Bank, Stanbic from Zambia, EcoBank. So there's a number of the African Development Bank. There's a lot of different bankers, development finance institutes like the IFC that will be joining the event. So there are quite a broad range of them that are coming through, obviously all looking for project deal flow, also looking at what are some of the new learnings, case studies that are coming out of other projects that they are doing in Africa, and how can we learn from some of those projects to see how can we then facilitate additional deal flow, not just in South Africa, but across the sub-Saharan African, East Africa regions.
Yeah. Are there specific technologies that the conference has some sort of bias towards? Very specifically, I'll give you an example. You mentioned Standard Bank will be one of the financing institutions rocking up with their pitch books this week, hoping to close some deals here. Standard Bank has had a very deliberate ratio in terms of their energy financing, right? For every R1 they spend on fossil fuels, they spend R5 on renewable energy, quite deliberately so. What ratio of technologies are you hoping to be able to attract here? And do you have a conference bias towards this? That is to say, will there be more renewable players and will there be more fossil fuel players? What does that mix look like?
Our mix tends to lean towards the renewable sector because we also have a very strong focus on independent power producers and power purchaser agreements. So we have a very focused conference as one of the side events of the main forum looking at that. So we do tend to lean towards renewable energies. However, we are looking at your traditional energy mix like your fossil fuels, but predominantly our focus is really looking at renewable energy projects. Some of the smaller nuances like microgrid projects that can, if you take a small village, if you put in some solar in a small village, how do the village the people living in the village, how do they access that technology and then make use of it to impact their lives directly on the ground? And I think another very big focus area for us is looking at how do we supply industry with power. So looking at industrial users, such as manufacturing plants that are implementing solar. So that's not just a problem here, as I said, but if we look at many factories, manufacturing plants, mining plants, they're looking
just
at...
the last one is specifically on that, on mining plants, because you can't speak of renewable energies without speaking concomitantly about critical minerals, particularly rare earth materials that are important for the manufacturing of these components. Are you inviting those players? Just a very brief answer on this.
Yes, 100%. It's a key focus. We have quite a lot of people, including the Director General of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, who will be speaking to that point.
Yeah, and of course, Jacob Mbele is at every one of these conferences I just mentioned. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate you speaking to us. That is Liz Hart, who is the Managing Director for the Africa Energy Indaba. That will be taking place in Cape Town.